Sladu has been watching all these videos about improvement for years already. He's constantly playing the game and training his mechanics, but just can't seem to make any progress. He's still not placing in tournaments, still losing to all his friends, and even getting trash talked out of every lobby.
Bro, Sladu, you are so bad.
If only Sladu knew what could make him better.
Champion!
Booga knows everything about Fortnite. He's spent countless hours mastering his craft and perfecting his Fortnite gameplay, all the way down to the tiny little habits that barely anyone can notice. The floors, the positioning, the sprays, the pieces around him, everything is calculated. Through all his dedication and hard work, he's become invincible. And here's how you can master even the subtlest aspects of your gameplay, just like Booga. Listen man, most pros make horrible plays during their fights. The difference is they can walk out of those plays completely unpunished. And that's what separates them from normal players or even highly mechanical players. If you don't know how to play defensively, you will lose a lot of fights. And the key to being able to play defensively while still damaging and pressuring your opponent is exit piece control. The whole point of it is just to piece control yourself while you're also trying to piece control your opponent. So if things go south, you always have an exit way to escape the play your opponent makes on you. This clip right here, for instance, is a pretty good example. I realize that my opponent has a wall on me and can potentially full box me. So I'll place my own wall and edit my way out of his box. But this is only the first step. The second step is to recognize when and how to outplay your opponent with your own piece control. In this second example, I execute both steps perfectly. I notice my opponent has a wall on me, I edit my cone, exit out with my left wall, and go back for a quick shot on my opponent. But there is so much more to exit piece control. Be sure to let me know if you would like to see a full in-depth video on this. That being said, let's get on to the next topic. Speaking of defensive playstyle, the ramp protection is crucial to learn because it protects you from your opponents in so many different ways. Let's say you're about to change boxes or you get put in a really bad scenario and you know your opponent is nearby and can either shoot you or piece control you. All you have to do is just stare at the floor or the wall in front of you, place a ramp, and automatically prevent your opponent from piece controlling you or dealing any damage to you. Here's an example of me using this trick to isolate my opponent and prevent myself from getting back shots.
What?
Wait, pause. I recognize there's a guy behind me, place a ramp, and knock the guy in front. And at first glance, this might seem so stupid, but trust me, this is game changing. You need this to go to the next level. So now that I taught you how to use your ramps defensively, let me teach you how to use them aggressively. It's 2025, so I'm pretty sure that by now, every single one of you guys know what a peanut butter is. But what most people don't know is that placing a ramp behind your peanut butter makes an insane peak. The reason this peak is so good is because when you do it, your opponent cannot see you. For comparison, here's the normal peanut butter, and now here's the ramped peanut butter. Yeah, it's pretty OP. So next time, instead of taking a bad 50-50, make sure you do this edit and it might just save you. Now that you know how busted this move is, you better start using it ASAP. And for this next one, let me teach you the true power of sprinting. It's very often mentioned in other videos, but it doesn't seem like anyone can grasp how important of a mechanic it actually is. Because fighting entirely revolves around placing pieces before your opponent, so you can have control over them. And this is what sprinting allows you to do. You get to piecing your opponent much quicker than they do if they don't sprint. Whether pros make a side jump, a double edit, or simply just reposition themselves in general, they are always sprinting before they make a play. Take a look at this clip where I elevate my character from side to side, which allows me to get to my opponent so much faster. Okay, the clip was arguably mid, but you get the point. What I want you to understand is that it's not necessarily about long bursts of sprint. Just developing the habit of tapping your sprint button every once in a while when you fight is going to improve your gameplay and your fighting abilities so much. And trust me, I know how hard it is to get the hang of this. So here's a couple of moves you can practice to implement sprinting within your gameplay. Alright, first and foremost, we have sprint 90s. I'm pretty sure you've seen them already, but if you haven't, you essentially just sprint, place a floor, a ramp, and repeat the process until you're satisfied. Next up, we have any variation of side jumps. This one is my favorite. You'll see Peterbot doing it a lot, but also make sure that you variate them. You should do side jumps from the left, the right, or even backwards if you feel like it, as long as you're covered while doing them. Next, we have a classic, crossovers. It's essentially just a combination of sprint 90s and side jumps, which is why it's a little bit harder. But it's also very crucial to learn. And last but not least, double edits. And this might be the most important one because it gets you used to editing and sprinting at the same time, which is arguably the hardest part about mastering this mechanic. And since this video is all about subtle things that pros do, we can't continue without mentioning this next tip. I can't stress enough how important it is to always look at your opponents whenever you have a weapon out. The sheer amount of chip damage or even eliminations you'll be getting off doing this is incredible. However, a lot of people tend to overdo it and forget that depending on the situation and the HP you have, doing this is incredibly dumb. Which is why I want to introduce y'all to the fantastic concept of shooting and replacing your enemy's builds when they're freshly edited. The point of doing this is to limit the amount of 50-50s you take during your fights. Let's say that you're in this situation. You're low on HP and you don't know the amount of health your opponent has. Why would you take a 50-50? That would be completely stupid. So the best way to stay alive right there is to wait for your opponent to make an edit, shoot it, and place your own wall instead. And from that point on, if you followed along this video, you would know that there's a lot of plays available. You could use that ramp above you to make a crazy peanut butter peak, or simply use your own exit piece control and easily get out of that situation. The whole point of this is that you always want to make sure that you're in control whenever you're at a disadvantage. However, there's a couple things worth noting. First of all, when it comes to shooting your opponent's wall when they edit, I recommend you aim at the top right corner of the wall, because that's a spot where most edits are actually shootable. And you have to keep in mind that depending on the shotgun you and your opponents use, the timing will be different. Which means that if you guys are playing with a fast pull-out shotgun like the Hammer or the Sentinel, you will need to be insanely quick to replace the wall, or else they might actually be able to bleed a shot on you. However, if you're playing with a pump, you'll have significantly more time to replace the wall. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I appreciate you so much, and I also appreciate all of you guys and the support I've been getting recently. I uploaded my last video on 800 subscribers. I'm on 3,000 right now. We're about to hit 5K, so make sure you subscribe. And a lot of you guys asked to know the songs I was using in my past projects, so I made a Spotify playlist that you guys can just click on and see every song that I use. I think some of them aren't available, but I just coded them in the description, so it's not that big of a deal. And yeah, also thanks to the artists that just allow people to use their songs freely. Like, you guys are the goats. That being said, use code William in the item shop. Later.